Hi, I'm Joe Camo, and I have taught American English pronunciation for over 20 years. Before we jump into exercises, training, practice routines, and all the fun stuff, I wanted to address a question that a lot of people, I think, quietly wonder about. Why do I have an accent? Where does it come from? Did someone teach you English incorrectly? Did you miss a secret American English pronunciation meeting or lesson that everyone else attended? No, it really does not work that way. An accent is simply what happens when you learn and use more than one language. That's it. You don't have an accent because you're bad at English. You have an accent because your speech habits were locked in by the time you were 4 years old, and you learn them basically from the other people talking in your environment. Your brain built a system, stuck a flag in it, and said, this is how we talk around here. Now, sometimes people talk about accents within the same language, such as someone from Texas sounding different than someone from New York, and someone from London sounding different than someone from Sydney. But in your case, we're talking about something different. If your first language is not English, you're speaking English while carrying the influence of another language that you learned first. And that's completely normal. In fact, if I packed my bags tomorrow, moved to your country, and learned your native language, I would almost certainly sound like an American, and probably a very obvious American. People would hear me speak and instantly know that I was not raised there. Why? Because every language has its own collection of sounds and rhythms and patterns and habits. Think of it like a menu, or better yet, a pantry filled with items. Every language has its own pantry of items, and these are the sounds that we use to put together or create words that have meaning. Some items appear in different pantries around the world, and some do not. American English has certain sounds that are both common and automatic for native speakers. For example, the sound that I use at the beginning of this, these, those. Notice that sound at the beginning of each of those words. Those words, this, these, those. My tongue sticks out slightly as I make that sound. I don't think about it. I don't plan it. I don't analyze it. I just do it. It's something I've been doing since I was about 4 years old. Most of the speaking habits we use in our first language are learned before we're 5 years old. Well before adulthood, they become automatic, like walking or using a fork or driving a car. You don't consciously think about every movement, you just do it. Now, here's where things get a little interesting, at least I think so. As an adult, you're using the sound system of your first language to help produce a second language. And those two systems don't always line up perfectly. The sounds are different. The rhythms are different. The movement patterns are different. So when Hindi or Russian or Italian, Mandarin, Arabic, Spanish, or any other language gets filtered through the pantry of American English, the result is accented speech. When your accent is flavored with cardamom, I can't make that recipe in my American pantry because I don't typically store cardamom. But I can use cinnamon, and it will probably be pretty close. Nothing wrong with that. It doesn't make it truly unacceptable. It's just accented. And that's an important distinction to make. Although there are people in the world who will not easily accept the recipe made with cinnamon when it calls for cardamom, or vice versa. But if I get really good at using cinnamon in that recipe and learn how to mix it with other things that make it taste just like cardamom, hardly anyone will notice. So enough about food and spices. Does this mean you need to learn an entire new language or replace everything in your pantry? No, not even close. The good news is that you already have most of what you need, a huge percentage of what you need. Most of the American English sound inventory is already available to you. You don't need to rebuild your speaking system from scratch. You just need to strengthen some very specific parts of it. And that's exactly what your training program in the method that I use is designed to do. We're going to identify the patterns that create communication breakdowns. And then we're going to teach your brain and your speech system how to produce those sounds and patterns more naturally. The goal is really simple. Help people understand you the first time, every time. Not after repeating yourself 3 times. The very first time. And that leads me into another misconception that I'd like to clear up. Training like this is not designed to eliminate your accent. Your accent is part of your story. It's part of your background. It's part of your culture. I remember being younger and earlier in my career and first learning about accents and dialects and thinking I really love all accents because they're so closely attached to culture and stories and origins. And frankly, some of the most effective communicators in the world speak English with noticeable accents. See, the goal is not to erase who you are. The goal is to increase your clarity, to reduce communication friction, to help your ideas land with more impact. And you can absolutely do those things with your accent. But some people have more work to do than others to reach that level of communication skill. And those skills are learned through repetition. Lots of repetition. It's not that they're difficult, but they are somewhat physical. And learning any new skill or sport takes practice and repetition. Think about golf, and maybe not just sports, piano, basketball, and shooting 3-point free throws. You can read 10 books about it. You can watch 50 videos. You can understand the theory perfectly. But eventually you have to do the thing over and over and over again until you master the fundamentals. Look up the story on your own about Michael Jordan and how he practiced in his early days, and you'll have a great understanding of exactly what I'm talking about. Speaking skills work the same way. You don't need to study pronunciation the way you study law or accounting. You have to practice consistently, daily. The students who make the fastest and most dramatic improvements aren't necessarily the smartest. They're the ones who show up and do the work every day. Even when it's boring, even when it's repetitive, even when progress feels slow or like baby steps, because repetition creates habit, and habits create natural speech. My job is to show you exactly what to practice and exactly how to practice it. Your job is to put in the repetition and build the habits. Do that consistently, and I know you'll be amazed at how much stronger, clearer, and more effective your communication can become.